Good morning, Monterey Church. My name is John Morgan, and I've been a part of Monterey Church since 2017. I am in the Navy, and I'm currently on the guided missile destroyer USS Mustin in Yokosuka, Japan. My wife Monica is in San Diego, and we are 4 months into a 12-month deployment. 2020 has been a wild ride for us. We were moving from Rhode Island to California with a few months in Virginia in between when the COVID-19 pandemic hit and the DoD froze all movement. Our household goods were in transit, and we were quarantined for all of our time in Virginia. The rules changed several times in the ensuing weeks, but we eventually made it to San Diego and were able to set up a home there before I left. All of the extra time in ROM, which is the military's way of acronymizing the quarantine, made it so that we could not visit loved ones in Michigan before my deployment, but it also allowed Monica and I to spend a lot of quality time together and fill our proverbial love tanks before I left for Japan. That was a huge blessing and a silver lining in the COVID cloud. When I arrived in Japan, I was sealed into a room by myself for 36 days and tested a few times to ensure that I did not bring the virus on board my ship at sea. This allowed for a lot of quiet time in thought and prayer, but was also a little bit rough towards the end. I then operated at sea for a couple of months, and am now back in Yokosuka for a little while. As many of you know from either the Book of Ecclesiastes or the 1960s song by the Byrds, God tells us that to everything there is a reason and a time to every purpose under heaven. 2020 has been a wild ride for all of us for a myriad of reasons. For me, I've gone back and forth between why are there 24 hours in every day to why are there only 24 hours in every day. This should sound familiar to the other military members at Monterey Church because that's the norm for us. The pandemic has definitely exacerbated the ups and downs of the roller coaster, though. It's easy to set aside 10, 20, 30 minutes for quiet time and prayer and meditation on the slow days, but I want to remind you that setting aside even 5 minutes on the crazy days to ground yourself and to refocus on the Lord can be even more important. I am grateful that my loving wife reminds me of this on my crazy days. I have 4 things to share with you that I have learned or that have been reinforced during 2020. The first thing is to count on your networks. Monica and I have leaned heavily on friends, family, colleagues, and perhaps most importantly, our D groups throughout our move and all the other complications that the year has brought. Lean on and lean into your D group brothers and sisters, and we will weather this storm together. The second is to vocalize and be honest about how you are doing. Many of us say that we are fine when we are not, or we downplay feelings that society may have taught us to suppress. Your D group should be a space of honesty and openness, as should your personal relationships outside of our church family. The third thing is to dial in mentally when you are streaming church or worshiping in some other way. I know Mike has said this in the past, so I won't belabor his point, but I was guilty of being distracted when we first started doing church at home every week. My fourth and final recommendation is to use this time to grow deeper roots. A friend once told me when I was living in the desert and feeling isolated that when you find yourself in a desert, you have to grow deeper roots if you want to survive and to thrive. I miss you all terribly. I pray for you every day, and I look forward to the day that we can see each other and high five and hug once more. Sayonara from Japan, Monterey Church.